Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. Happy Wine Wednesday. Today on the podcast, we have Monique Bell. Monique is a professor of marketing at Fresno State, and she researches the intersections of business and culture. Her recent work has explored survey data of Black wine entrepreneurs in an industry lacking diversity. The name of the study is Terroir Noir, 2020 study of Black wine entrepreneurs. She gives us all the details behind this study and why it's so important. Cheers. Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. Happy Wine Wednesday. Dennis and Leslie, hey, how y'all doing? Yes.
Doing fine. Happy Wine Wednesday to you too, ladies.
Thank you. Are you guys going to the Portugal tasting on Wednesday?
Yes.
I am. I will be there in the AM.
Oh, okay.
Jetting out.
Yeah. I'll be there for a few hours, just do the walk around tasting. Then I'm gonna come home.
Yeah, and also it depends if my, supervisor don't put something on my calendar Wednesday morning, like he did for the wines of South Africa.
Oh yeah.
Tasting. I was so hot. Oh yeah. It was so hot because I wanted to go so bad. But my plan is to be there in the morning.
Leslie, you went to the South Africa tasting. How was that, the event?
I did. I liked it. I was expecting very traditional Chenin Blanc, which they did. They had that. But they started out with Cap Classique, which was excellent because you don't have a lot of opportunity unless you're looking for those to try different ones. And they had a couple of rosés that were made with the Pinotage. And I know Pinotage.
Yum.
Yeah, some people are like, I realize Pinotage is a very divisive grape. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Yep. Some people it's one of those grapes, you either love it or you don't.
Yeah.
I haven't met too many people say, well, I'll drink it if I have to. They either want to or they don't. I love it. It's just big, bold, stinky on the nose, but beautiful on the palate. Ha! Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was having a moment.
Nice. And then they had a round of, they didn't have a round of Pinotage. They had a round of Cab Sauv. Which, when you think of South Africa, you don't always think of Cab Sauv. So
wait, how was the event? Was this like a seated masterclass, or was it a walk around tasting?
It was a seated masterclass.
Oh, okay.
It was a seated masterclass, and it they had people from New York there, and one other location I can't remember. I apologize. So it was a seated masterclass in their upstairs area. And, in previous years, then they had the open tasting on their bottom floor. They did not have that. It was just upstairs.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I always love that South African event. The wine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never get enough of South African wine because it's so little of it in retail stores.
Right.
And quality. Yeah. That's the other thing. It's hard to find really quality wines from that area that are in the retail store that you're not paying a lot for.
Because the first part of that tasting was supposed to be sparkling, right?
Yeah, that was the Cap Classique.
Okay. Yum. When I saw that and I saw the pictures, I was like, "Zip on to go."
yeah, and it's interesting because it's very their sparklings are very much influenced by the French. So they use mostly Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Graham Beck makes a really nice
they do
sparkling wines and at great price points as well. So it's always a go-to if you don't see anything else. You're like, oh, okay, that'll work. I'm gonna take some Graham Beck. I would love to have tasted that Pinotage Rosé. What was the flavor profile like? Did they leave the skins on long? Was it not a dark rosé, but a heavier pink color, or was it a light, pale?
I would say medium.
Medium, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't, some sparkling rosés, you can barely tell that
it's a rosé.
It's a no, it had, and I think also with, the Pinotage grape, the skins are so thick there that you don't have to have a whole lot of contact for a long period of time to get significant color.
Get the color. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. So medium color. Were you able to discern whether that particular one can be found in retail stores easily or no?
I asked who the distributors were, and so I'm waiting for some feedback to get that information. I was going to follow up, but I'll let you know, because some of the people who were there tasting were retail people.
Oh, okay.
So they definitely had people who were buyers as well as bloggers and media there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So will you be carrying? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Glenn.
I was getting ready to say, do you think you're going to carry some in your wine club?
Good question.
Yes, I am.
Nice.
That will be a preview for our Christmas.
Nice. Yes. And can your best friends from the grocery get first?
Yes, most definitely.
That was a shameless plug. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Cerise.
I was just going to tell you about I attended a virtual Kava event this past Saturday. Julia, everybody know Julia Coney. She was the lead, and she was working with D.O. Kava. And so we ordered 2 bottles of wine from them. They shipped it to us. And then she led like a master class. I mean, y'all know Julia. So it was very educational, but casual. Right. But I learned a whole lot. I thought I knew Kava. I did. But I learned a whole lot. Like, for one thing, I didn't know there were 9 Kava grapes. I only knew of 3. Let's see. The next time you buy a Kava, look at the top of the cap, because the color determines how long it's been aged.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll get the slides and I'll like write up like a list and stuff. But I was really shocked about how much I did not know about Kava.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
That's interesting.
And we tasted a really good Kava. Retail price was $14, and I could not believe it. And I was like, you guys have to work hard to get Kava in these retail shops, because it's always the same brands that we see.
Right.
And I feel like it might be like 5 of the same ones that we see over and over again. But the one we had was absolutely stunning. I'll send it to y'all and put it in the description box. It was really good.
Oh, excellent.
It's really less expensive.
Yeah.
Because I have been on the hunt for a good Kava to carry. And I just have not really been impressed what the distributors are carrying. So I'd like to know the name of that one that you
Sure. And also, you know where I go to get Kava, because they have the biggest sparkling wine selection that's not champagne, is the Crescent Wine Shop in Bowie.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I go, because everywhere else has the same bottles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, especially if you come out here to Montgomery County. You would have to go. I have to go to Total Wine to get to prayerfully get an obscure sparkling every now and then.
Yep. So we have a special guest with us, Miss Monique Bell. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so glad to be with you all. I'm getting my own education here. So thank you for that. Love that.
Sure. Welcome to the Swirl Suite. Introduce yourself for those who do not know you.
Sure. So again, my name is Monique Bell, and I am currently an associate professor of marketing at Fresno State out here in California. And I've been here about 8 years in this role. And I had the fantastic opportunity last fall 2020, to embark on what has become like a passion journey of studying Black wine entrepreneurs. And so last fall, I began interviewing and surveying Black wine entrepreneurs, about half of which were actually like wine producers and wine brands, and then other folks in other roles, whether it was media, consulting, importing, exporting, distribution, et cetera, and just got to know all about the challenges as well as the benefits, the advantages of owning your own business within the wine space as a Black person. And so that's what I've been really focused on with my research in the past year. Since that time, is just putting together that story and trying to share it far and wide and continue collecting data around that story.
So I have a question. So let's back up a bit. Tell us like how this idea even came about and why you decided to go to Black entrepreneurs in wine versus Black entrepreneurs as a whole.
Yeah. So it was a pretty big leap for me. I'm pretty much used to studying consumer behavior and really, just studying consumer behavior. So what inspired this whole path was really attending the Oakland Black Vines Festival back in February 2017. And as you probably know, that's hosted by Fern Stroud. It's going on, I think it just celebrated its 10th anniversary. And it is a showcase of Black winemakers and a coming together of Black wine consumers. And so I had never seen anything like that before in my life. I was, prior to that, I did not really make the connection between Black ownership within the wine industry. And so seeing that and hearing the folks' stories about owning vineyards and all of that, I was just super impressed, super intrigued. And I said, I have to learn more. And so that's where it came from for me. It was really out of curiosity about how they were able to make that leap into the wine industry, what their experiences were. That really sparked my interest. And so once I had an opportunity to apply for a sabbatical semester, which just means you can focus for a semester on research or professional development, really anything but teaching, you can devote your time to. I said, well, I want to apply with that as my focus area. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure if it was going to be accepted. One, because it hadn't been done before. There was like literally nothing in the literature and very little in the popular media about Black wine entrepreneurs. And so there was that obstacle to get over. But also, in academia and, in the real world as well, studies about Black people, Black entrepreneurs aren't really valued. It's kind of like, I wish I would have studied this several years ago, but the academia really pushes you to focus on what's most generalizable. So not really focusing on what they would call niche areas like minority entrepreneurship and such. So I wasn't really convinced that it was going to be accepted, but thankfully it was, and it's been a wild ride since that I'm grateful for.
I feel like you just created your own major. I can see people like studying this and having like a full degree in this one subject.
Wow. That gives me chills. I think it's very possible. And I would love if I could contribute in any way to that happening. I would love to do that. Kind of something else that's near and dear to my heart is making sure that younger people aren't in their 30s like I was before they realize that this is a whole industry that you can jump into and make your mark in. I think there's only one HBCU, which is FAMU, that offers something in this realm. It might be a certificate in enology or viticulture, but I want young people to know that this is an option for them. Whatever their interest is, chemistry, marketing, law, all of that can be applied to this industry, and that there are paths to being entrepreneurs.
Monique, I have to admit that I had received a copy from someone else earlier. Mm-hmm. So then when Sarita said that you were going to be on the show, I was so excited because I can ask you about it. One of my biggest concerns, well, not concerns, is observations, is there's so much content that it needs to be a sequel.
Oh yeah.
There needs, and there, like you said, there's so many different avenues that I think you just scratch the surface.
You're absolutely right. And that's kind of, I would say, some of the feedback that I've gotten, that people were expecting, people that I kind of previewed that this was coming. They were like, well, I wanted to get the full experience. I want to know, what did they say? What were they thinking? And I'm like, okay, that is part 2. I had to at least set a baseline for us to say, okay, what is the state of Black wine today? What are just the bare minimum metrics that we can use in the future to go back to and see, are we doing better? Are we doing worse? How have we progressed? And so that's what I wanted to just share first, was that kind of not quite raw, but really kind of unfiltered data from the survey, just the metrics, so that we can say, okay, here's something we can all agree upon. This doesn't need much interpretation. It is what it is. Secondary to that, and what I'm working on now, is really going through the transcriptions of the interviews that I did, because I interviewed more than 40 Black wine entrepreneurs over Zoom. And so those were transcribed, thank God, automatically. I didn't have to try to transcode it myself or transcribe it myself. But we still have the manual work of saying, okay, so what are the themes? What's emerging from these interviews that we can really capture and share and provide that richer story about what the Black wine entrepreneur experience is really all about. So yes, hopefully part 2, part 3, part 4, I want to talk with Black wine professionals, because initially the study was going to cover both entrepreneurs as well as professionals, but that just kind of got a little bit too muddy, a little too cloudy, because there's different experiences. And so I do want to focus on professionals, and then ultimately on consumers, and perhaps make this kind of an annual kind of, event that we can reflect upon and say, what's changed? What good news can we celebrate? What's coming next?
So when you say entrepreneurs, just for our audience, can you define who's in that bucket, how you're defining it?
Yes. As I said, initially, I was including both entrepreneurs and professionals. Entrepreneurs, I would consider those folks who own a wine-centric business. So again, that was, for the most part, about half of the people who responded. Those were folks who own a winery, own a wine brand, if it's a custom crush, who are actually producing wine in some form. But it also included media folks, maybe 1 or 2 distributors, importers and exporters, retail shops. But in all those instances, for the final study, they needed to have ownership of that particular enterprise. So they weren't working for someone else, they owned that venture. And then professionals, I consider folks who are, of course, skilled, educated, experts, but they're performing their services for someone else's business. So that
what was the 2 things? What was like the most shocking revelation that you had from that? And then secondly, what was the other thing you were like, yeah, I figured this was the case?
Let's see. I was surprised, but not really, but kind of, about that people were so gracious to take the time to do the survey and or participate in the interview. Because if you think about last year at this time, we were in the middle of pandemic. If you lived in California, you had the fires going on. I, as a novice to wine, did not realize that in North America, the fall season is the harvest season. So they don't have time to talk to me. So you add that in, and then, the political landscape, there was just a lot going on last fall. And so I was surprised that people were so gracious and, forthcoming. And they were really thanking me for interviewing them or taking the time to hear their story. But I'm like, no, you are inspiring me. You're giving me that extra boost to keep going, knowing that this story needs to be told and, shared. So that was one surprising thing. I was also surprised that this was kind of a silver lining of the pandemic environment, that there were international folks who participated. Because I had only, when I initially planned all of this, I was thinking probably just California, but definitely just US. But ultimately, I wound up having participants from Germany, South Africa, New Zealand. So that was, it was great to have that international perspective. I think on the data side, I was surprised that more of the businesses didn't have a minority or women-owned business designation, meaning like they got certified to say that they're a Black-owned or women-owned business. But I found out and learned later that could be kind of a cumbersome task to try to. Mm-hmm.
As a Black business, would you need that though? Like, I would never think, if I owned a wine shop or a winery, I would never think to get that because I'm the minority.
Well, because most organizations that get that designation have an intention of selling to some government agency.
Got you. Okay.
And so if you are a winery, I'm not saying that the government doesn't purchase wine, but there's not as large of a market if you were a construction company or you were an electrician or what have you. And it is very, very cumbersome to get that.
Yeah. So that was both of those were lessons learned for me. And thank you for even adding that to help me further understand why that might be the case. But something that I was surprised, but not surprised about, was the level of this sense of needing to give back among these entrepreneurs. And, the literature, the little bit of literature that does exist about Black and minority entrepreneurs does clearly state that that's a trend. And that is something that's really endemic to minority cultures, is this sense of needing to give back, lift others up. So I did find that in my study that there was definitely a sense of, well, I want to help the next winemaker or wine business. I want to give to my community through, sponsorship and donations. So that definitely bore out and aligned with the existing studies on Black entrepreneurs in general. So I was happy to see that was also the case in wine too.
Oh, I was getting ready to ask, when she mentioned donations and things like that of the winemakers and wine companies giving back, did any of those entities talk about giving scholarships to people of color who are interested in taking like UC Davis enology classes or wine certification classes, things of that nature?
That's a great question. I didn't ask that explicitly in the survey. I think I did generally ask, was scholarships in one of the ways that they give back? So I can definitely follow up on that figure. But even in the interviews, I don't recall hearing them specifically talk about those types of scholarships. I think they try to do it much more at the local level, so that if there's someone directly within their community that they can support, they might do it that way. But, that's definitely another great option, possibly collectively even forming scholarships that would support wine education, wine business education.
Exactly. Because those wine management courses at UC Davis and I forgot the other organization out there, are expensive. And that would be an added bonus to our community getting more involved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They do have the AAAV has the scholarship fund for Black winemakers.
And the Roots Fund just released their scholarship recipients for this year. It's a lot of people we know on there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's probably you guys can tell me because I'm again new to this, but probably the most prevalent time where there's scholarships being awarded and being created. So that's what I've been telling people now who I come in contact with. Like, if you have any interest in wine at all, you want to just do level 1 like I did, and I got the Josh Hart scholarship with 99 other folks. Now is the time to do it. What could be better is having that information in a central place. Because had I not been on sabbatical, I would not have the time to go searching, all over the place to find that information. So if that info could be in one centralized place, that would be awesome. But I would definitely highlight the Association of African American Vintners as a good source for anyone to start on that journey.
Yeah, I know a few people who have also received really big internships too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the opportunities are out there.
I love that. I got to really more document and support the Lodi Appalachian Inclusive Collective, which is in Lodi, California, which is about a 2-hour drive north of Fresno or an hour south of Sacramento. And it's actually the largest grape growing region in the United States, but it's kind of, Napa's kind of ugly stepsister in a way. People don't know about it, but it has some of the world's oldest vines there. And what I was getting at with the Roots Fund, they hosted Rooted in Lodi there with the Lace Collective. And folks got immersive experiences. They got to do everything from end to end, look at the vines, understand, how to manage the vines, pick the grapes, actually create their own blends, and just really get that one-on-one personal connection with the winemakers in that region. And so I think, it's time intensive, it's labor intensive. There were only 4 people, I think, who participated at that, in that immersion experience. So it's hard to scale something like that. But I think on the other hand, the outcomes of doing something like that are just so valuable. So hopefully the Roots Fund or the other organizations can continue to provide experiences like that.
And also, I found this truly informative, but also I think that people outside of us need to read it. So I think a lot of these other winemakers who aren't Black need to see how much work that we're putting into their industry. And then I can't wait till you get into the consumer part of it, because I'm sure their jaws are going to drop about how much buying power that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, when it comes to, well, what can we do? It was really important for me to end the report as best I could, and with the knowledge and data that I had about what can we do next. And from the consumer standpoint, we really can make a concerted effort to buy Black wines. We have that pull. If we go into a restaurant, if enough of us go into a restaurant and want a particular wine, eventually they're going to add that to their inventory. And now with being able to buy wine online, it's no longer that where you're located is a barrier to getting Black owned wine. So we can do our part, but definitely the industry needs to do its part and not let the momentum that we saw occur in May and June, July of 2020 kind of get lost the wayside, to just really keep up that same energy, that same attention. And we have seen some organizations that have done that. I know, I think it's Napa Valley Vintners in partnership with AAAV has established a really large scholarship fund. But yeah, it's just a matter of keeping that going, keeping that reminder, and hopefully through the reports that I do and through the work that you all are doing, that voice will continue to be heard.
I know you're already a teacher and you already have a job, but would you teach, would you hold a master class based on your report and just, we'll pay for it. We'll just go,
Oh, I would absolutely love to do that, particularly as I get more deep into that qualitative, that interview data. I would love to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. However, initially when I started thinking about this, I just wanted to like catalog the Black wine entrepreneurs, just like in a book or a calendar or something, because that's where my mind, by trade or, before going into the university, marketing, right? So marketing and communications and design is where my heart is. So that's where my mind went initially, was like, oh, a beautiful, coffee table book highlighting these winemakers and the different wines and all of that. So I would still love to do that. So Sarita, I need some help from you. I know you just, published your book. So I'm giving you some support.
Of course.
So yeah. Since you have a background in marketing, and one of the biggest obstacles that people were citing was just people knowing. I mean, even though there has been this great surgence in entrepreneurship and Black wine, there's still, I bet if I walk down the street, people couldn't name 5 Black brands.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, what is that barrier?
Yeah, well, there's a few things I would say. Number one, entrepreneurs, their time is already limited as it is. They have to just focus on really just day-to-day survival. And then you add on a pandemic, and it's really just about day-to-day survival. So I think there's a constraint of time and then of actual knowledge, of understanding marketing, even though we're all consumed with it every day and exposed to it. Just really applying it can be challenging if that's not your forte or you don't have the time to do it. So I think that's part of it. So I think that's, really probably the biggest is just having that knowledge and having the time to do it. And when I think one of you mentioned, I have a full-time job. It seems like 2 full-time jobs actually. But I would love to get more into like marketing consulting for these businesses ultimately. And, doing workshops, things that are like really low cost, low hanging fruit, things that they could do to increase their presence and increase their service quality as well. So I would love to do that. But one way
you're going to get an email from me. So,
but one way we've started working on that is through the Sit Consciously directory, which I worked with the founder of Uncorked and Cultured, who's Angela McCrae. She and I together partnered since I had been just kind of piecing all of these different Black wine entrepreneurs together and creating my own huge Excel spreadsheet. We said, well, let's make this available to everyone. So both the consumers know where they can find Black owned, wineries or wine brands, whether it's in their local neighborhood or just simply online. And then so that the industry folks can find each other, because that was another challenge of knowing, I want to start my wine retail shop. How do I get in touch with Black wine distributors? Or how do I learn more about Black wine producers? And so that's really the crux of the Sit Consciously directory, is just making that information available as we progress, hopefully amplifying those entrepreneurs a bit more, providing a bit of that marketing for them, and just making it available in one central place. So that no matter where you are, if you're traveling, you can just go to the directory and say, well, what Black owned winery or wine brand is near me, or wine retailer is near me. So that's really what we hope to do with the Sit Consciously directory.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, you guys are doing great work. That's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I would really be curious, not to give you any more work, Monique, but I am, to see annually over the next 5 years, which brands have been sustainable, and which brands have experienced growth and have increased their distribution. Because I think that being in the Black wine industry is in vogue now. Mm-hmm. Just like being in the spirits industry. Mm-hmm. And this one woman came up to me and she was like, "Oh, I would love to make wine." And so I was like, "Well, do you know anything about wine?" Mm-hmm. No. So it's, I mean.
I'm sorry, was she rich too? No. Okay.
Just, you know, so, you know, a lot of people want to be in the industry, and God bless them, right? Because, you know, the more the merrier. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that people realize the expense and the time, and just like with any business, there's a lot of growing pains there. And so we've seen this big emergence of new business owners, and to see where it pans out 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
I absolutely love that idea. I think that's very important to give a reality check for folks to understand, like, you know, this is what the investment is financially, emotionally, family time that you'll be missing out on, mental health, a bunch of different investments that you'll be making. And I really should have done, I think, a better job of positioning the report as, you know, so you want to own a winery or you want to be in the wine business, you know, here's a reality check, not to dissuade anyone, but just like anything, the more knowledge you have to prepare you, you know, the better that you can deal with those hiccups and challenges when they occur. So I thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's a fantastic idea.
All righty. So we're going to move into our second part of our show. And we're just going to ask you some random questions. I think these are pretty much, okay. Well, one, Leslie, you can't answer because you didn't go to HBCU, but.
Yes, I did.
Where you go?
I went to Howard.
No, you didn't. You ain't never told us you went to Howard. I thought you went to Towson.
I did. And I went to Howard for grad school.
I did not realize that.
Yes.
My apologies.
That's okay. You can humble yourself later.
Okay, so the first question is our money question. We are up to $35,000. If you received $35,000, what would you do with it?
Should I go first?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. You know what? I'm a little bit shook after this past year. I'm such a saver now. My first instinct is just sock it away, keep it for, you know, rainy day, whatever happens next. But if I was going to splurge, I probably invest it actually in opening like an urban winery. I would kind of use that as my starting capital to get that going.
You know what? I would build a little workshop building with like a little hideaway, a little cabin in the woods. That would be my little getaway, my shack on the water.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it depends on which waterbed you went next to. It would be a shack for $35,000.
Exactly. It's just a little getaway. It's just like a bedroom, a little kitchen, and definitely
kitchen can cost you $35,000, Leslie.
I was about to say, you about to build this by yourself. Right. That's how you can afford it.
It's a DIY project, or
hey, so to answer your question, Sabrina, I'm gonna loan Leslie my $35,000 and make some interest off of it. Shit, she gonna need something for the cabin in the damn woods. Ain't nobody messing with her. She ain't gonna have no damn bathroom. She's gonna be in an outhouse for $35,000. Okay, so now she got 70. We going. Go ahead now.
I would buy what do you call them? Like mobile home.
Oh, okay.
I would buy a mobile home. So when I don't feel like getting on a plane and I don't feel like driving, because also this mobile home is gonna come with a driver, because we're not gonna do that. I just want to ride, you know.
Okay.
So almost Sarita, like my own bus.
Do you know how much they cost?
She gonna need to borrow your money.
You got a better chance of living in my shack.
Plus Monique's money to get her damn.
No, I actually don't.
I'm gonna be a loan shark. I'm about to be the richest one.
It doesn't have to be real fancy. It just needs a bathroom and a bed.
It ain't. The baseline ones are starting at 50.
You're lying.
Right. Yes,
Get out of here.
They can run into the millions. Some of those.
Wow.
Like that
the baseline. Yes.
Starting
at
50. Oh my gosh, those are expensive. Yeah.
Airstream ones.
Airstream. Yeah. You can just cancel Christmas, darling.
And John Madden's bus that he used to ride around in because he didn't like flying to get to these games. That thing was like a rolling motel. Millions of dollars. It was kitted out. It was just unbelievable. Yeah.
Okay. So
unless you hook it to the Prius.
Wait.
Hey, hook it to the Prius and find.
Girl, you know a Prius can't pull a thing. A Prius can't pull nothing. Okay. Oh my God. So y'all told me. Okay. Next question. She gonna give you.
Okay.
I'm gonna loan y'all some of my money because it's gonna so Rita can take her whatever she get and put it on your waterfront property. So y'all have some ways to go to the bathroom until you stay.
They can be in my parking lot. I'll charge.
She said she gonna charge us rent. That's so messed up.
I don't know what I'm saying. Oh God.
Oh man. That's hilarious. Okay, next question. What inspired you to go to a HBCU?
Oh, my mother. I ain't had no choice. It was because I thought I was going, in my mind, I'd taken all these trips down to Hampton because Miss Pipkin from our church, that was her alma mater. And she was like, I'm going to take these kids from the inner city down here to see this great university, institute at the time, because it was not a university then. It was an institute. And then I came home. Yeah, Mom, I'm going to Hampton Institute. She said, no, you're not. Because you're not crazy. You're not going to institute. I want you to see this university in DC. This is a true story. I'm not trying to be funny. I was like, oh, Mom, okay, let me go. On the bus coming around the reservoir, past Children's Hospital. And I was like, oh, this is the bomb. It's right in the middle of the city. I don't have to go to the country. I'm going to Howard. So, and then I started after that initial exposure. I started doing research. I was like, oh, it's the Mecca. Of course I'm going to Howard. There's no other school. So yeah, best decision I ever made.
That's a good story.
My mother crazy. You ain't going to no institute. You ain't crazy. I was like, oh, righty then.
What about you, Monique?
Please don't say you went to Hampton after all that.
No, ma'am. She went to the great Morgan State. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
I saw that. I rolled, Leslie. I don't appreciate it.
Oh,
the Bears. There they go.
I know what you were saying. The Bears.
Beltway. Yeah, my parents. Both my parents and my older sister all went to an HBCU, the exact same one, as a matter of fact, North Carolina Central. And I was the outlier who had to just go on a different path. And I just love Baltimore, DC area. And it was between Howard and Morgan gave me the full scholarship. So the decision was really.
There you go.
That sounds about how Howard does it. Yeah.
Leslie?
When I was an undergrad at Towson, my summers, I worked at Howard. My dad had a business, and he was his business managed some of the dorms. So I worked for him during the summer. And then when I graduated from college, I was like, I wanted to get a master's in public administration. And Howard has a really good program, and Dr. Ron Walters was the chair of the department at the time. And I was working already in political science. Also, I felt like as an undergrad, even though there was like a tight-knit Black community at Towson, I just felt like I missed out. And especially working at Howard, I was like, I didn't have Black professors at Towson. And I wanted to get that experience. I wanted to have Black professors who worked in the field, who could tell me and guide me. So that was part of the reason why I went to Howard.
Mm. Your answers are so eloquent, and mine isn't. It really isn't. It's
was it a different world?
Well, first of all, it was a different world. And I grew up in DC. So we were at Howard for every and anything. So the football games, and we took some prep college courses there. I was always at Howard. So I didn't feel like I was going anywhere if I went there, even though my family, a lot of them went to Howard, and they called when I graduated. They called, "Are you sure you don't want to continue the family legacy and go to Howard?" I was like, "Nah, son, my mom said that if I go to Howard, then I have to stay home and not pay like the dorms and stuff." I was like, "Oh no, no, I just need that space." You know what I'm saying? So anyway, mm-hmm. Morgan was a nice balance. It wasn't too close and it wasn't very far. So, and I love the energy when I stepped on the campus. So it was a no-brainer.
Recently, I drove through Morgan's campus. It is so beautiful. I mean,
yeah. It's much more beautiful now than it was when I was there.
Oh my goodness,
it's gorgeous now. It's gorgeous.
And just think what it looked like in '84. I was like, I absolutely not. Nope.
All right. Next question. What was the first wine made by a Black winemaker that you had? If you can remember.
We don't count Champipple, do we? Okay. I'm gonna be serious. I'm still laughing off that other.
Well, my first.
I know what my first was.
My first was my grandfather's cherry wine, but he don't officially count.
Right.
But the very first one was Andre Max. And it was his the Pinot Noir, which is still one of my favorites.
Mine was Brown Estates.
Nice.
The Red Zen. That's what made me fall in love with Red Zinfandel.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah. And I just love the whole story too. So
yeah. I don't remember because I was drinking it at that Black Vines Festival. So I don't remember what I tasted then, but just, a single bottle on its own, Brown Estate Sauvignon Blanc. And actually Cassandra Shegg from SIT Wine and Beer in Temecula or San Diego area sent it to me. And so that's how.
Nice.
Nice. Can she be my friend and send me some?
Exactly.
It's so sweet. I bet she would. She's so sweet.
Nice. Woo.
My first was also Andre Mac, but it was the Love Drunk Rosé. Yeah, I was like, this is if Black wine is going to taste like this, yeah, I'm excited.
Well, sorry, that didn't happen.
You got to take the good with the bad, I suppose.
And that's with any wine.
It's true.
White winemakers, Black winemakers, Spanish winemakers, but I just had to throw that pun in there. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm on a roll with that. And I haven't even been drinking. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I need to get up and get a glass.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next two questions are from Monique. Do you miss anything about the East Coast?
Ooh, I miss everything about the East Coast except for snow. So yes, Fresno is not the California that you think of when you think about California. So there's that. But it has been so good to me. You know, I can't complain. I really cannot complain. The university, the area, you know, it's given me a chance to really blossom and bloom. So I'm so thankful for that. But yes, I do miss Baltimore, and I lived in Philadelphia right before I moved here. So I do miss a lot about the East Coast. Most importantly, my family is all still there. But then like food, activities, you know, just being able, when I had my hair, like I have sister locks now, it's an ordeal. If someone stops doing the locks, then I have to find someone like 200 miles away to do it. So those types of concerns, you know, first world problems, I know. Yeah.
I was at a group tasting a few weeks ago, and there was a girl who was from here, but she lives in California, and she was visiting. And she was talking about how she can't get grilled food. She can't get burnt hot dogs at California. I was like, I don't understand that. It's always nice. Y'all should be grilling like every day. She was just like, but they don't. And also it's nothing but vegetables. She was like, somebody tried to fool me and like grill a carrot and put it on a bun.
Yeah, very health conscious for sure. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's, you know, you got to take, everything is a trade-off.
All right. Last question is for you. How do you decompress after you've completed your study? Like, how did you decompress? And did that include wine?
I don't know when I actually finished it. I guess maybe when I hit, you know, send on the report or posted it somewhere. I guess that would be the finish for that study. And, you know, I didn't really do much because I was, you know, back working as, you know, as a professor. So I didn't really get any downtime, any lag time. But yeah, but just in general, I love swimming when I can. I'm much more interested on the business side of wine than I am in actually consuming it regularly. I do enjoy it. I love learning about it. I got my WSET level 1. I'm going to be going for level 2. So I love learning about it, but
it's okay. Give you time. Give you another year. All that's going to change.
Exactly.
Yeah. So more wine consumption to come for sure.
Awesome.
And if you feel like you're being bombarded with samples that you're just not going to drink, you can send it right on back here to the East Coast. We will take care of that for you.
You know what's funny? I don't know if there's a Hue Society near you guys. I know there's a New York chapter. There's a Northern California chapter of Hue Society by Tahira Habibi. But I joined it, you know, as soon as it became available. And through that, you are sent samples and have wine tastings. But just as the universe would have it, as soon as I joined and started receiving all these samples, I got a medical diagnosis that required me not to drink any alcohol. So it's like month of bottles. So I have a lot of drinking to make up for. I can drink now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to make up for lost time.
Okay.
What a great pastime.
Yeah. And well, if you ever go to Atlanta and hang with Tahira or anybody in the Black wine industry, and it, child, get your liver ready.
Yeah, detox before.
They are drinkers.
Detox after. Good God Almighty. I thought I could hang, but Jesus.
And if Glennis is saying this, my God, I say this all the time. I don't know if I've ever seen Glennis drunk because I'm way over the top before she even gets there. Monique,
where can we find you, Monique?
Where can everybody find your study?
Yeah. So probably the best place is, well, easiest to remember is moniquebell.com/wine, WINE. I've also started a new website and hopefully it'll become a blog eventually. Winebell.com, and that's spelled WYNEBELLE.com. And Instagram is Winebell, the Winebell, spelled the same way. Any of those locations, you should be able to find the link to get the study. And I appreciate the support, feedback, all of that. You know, let's just keep progressing and moving the discussion forward.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
It's been my pleasure. I look forward to learning more from you all.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and I know we'll learn more from you as well through
Absolutely.
all the data and your surveys and your studies. So,
thank you. I appreciate it all. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and comment and all the things. And also follow all of us on social media. Enjoy the rest of your week. Cheers.